The Silent Storm Commander Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of Earth Station Alpha, watching the stars with a mixture of wonder and unease. The coffee in her hands had gone cold an hour ago, but she couldn't bring herself to look away from the viewport. 3 days ago, humanity had received its first confirmed signal from an alien intelligence. 3 days that had changed everything. The signal had been beautiful at first. Complex mathematical sequences that spoke of advanced civilization, followed by what appeared to be star charts and peaceful intentions. Dr. Marcus Webb, the station's chief xenolinguist, had worked around the clock to decode the messages. What they found seemed too good to be true. The beings called themselves the Vorthak Empire, and they claimed to come in peace, seeking trade and knowledge exchange with younger species. "Commander, we're receiving another transmission," Lieutenant Torres called from the communications array. Sarah turned, setting down her cold coffee. The young officer's face was pale with excitement and fear. "It's different this time. They're requesting permission to dock at Luna Station for formal first contact." Sarah felt her heart skip. Luna Station was humanity's most advanced orbital facility, home to over 10,000 civilians and military personnel. If these aliens truly came in peace, it would be the most momentous day in human history. If they didn't, humanity would be defenseless. "Get me Admiral Morrison on Priority Channel," Sarah ordered. Within minutes, the grizzled face of Earth's top military commander appeared on the main screen. "Sarah, I know what you're thinking," Morrison said before she could speak. "Every instinct tells me this is too fast, too convenient. But the politicians are breathing down my neck. They want this first contact to happen, and they want it to be peaceful." "Sir, we should proceed with caution. We know nothing about their true capabilities or intentions." Morrison nodded grimly. "Agreed. But the decision's been made above our pay grade. You're to escort Dr. Webb and the diplomatic team to Luna Station. Full military escort, but keep weapons powered down. We don't want to appear hostile." 2 days later, Sarah found herself aboard the UNS Endeavour, watching as something emerged from the void near Luna Station. The Vorthak vessel was unlike anything human engineers had imagined. It moved with fluid grace, its hull seeming to shift and flow like liquid metal. Beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Dr. Webb stood beside her, his tablet filled with translation algorithms and cultural notes. "Their ship's design suggests a highly advanced understanding of material science," he murmured. "The energy signatures are off the charts, but they're broadcasting on peaceful frequencies." The docking procedure went smoothly. The Vorthak ship attached itself to Luna Station's primary bay with mechanical precision. Sarah watched the security feeds as the airlock cycled, her hand unconsciously resting on her sidearm. The first Vorthak to emerge was tall and elegant, with elongated limbs and skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. It wore no visible armor or weapons, and its movements were graceful, almost dancer-like. Behind it came others, each carrying what appeared to be gifts or trade samples. "Welcome to humanity's home," Dr. Webb spoke into his translator device, which converted his words into the musical tones the Vorthak used for communication. The lead alien responded in kind, its words flowing like a gentle stream. "We bring greetings from the Vorthak Empire," the translation device rendered. "We have traveled far to meet the young species that send such interesting signals into the void. We come with gifts of knowledge and technology, hoping to begin a relationship that will benefit both our peoples." For 6 hours, the meeting proceeded perfectly. The Vorthak shared star charts, demonstrated their advanced materials, and spoke eloquently about peace between species. Dr. Webb was in his element, documenting everything and asking countless questions about their culture and technology. Sarah remained suspicious. Something about the Vorthak's answers felt rehearsed, too perfect. When asked about their empire's size, they gave vague responses. When questioned about other species they'd encountered, their answers were evasive. Most troubling of all, she noticed that the Vorthak delegation never split up, never allowed themselves to be alone with humans. The moment everything changed came during the final hour of the meeting. Dr. Webb was demonstrating human music, playing a selection of classical pieces through the station's audio system. The Vorthak leader listened with apparent interest, then made what seemed like a casual observation. "Your species has such passionate expressions," it said through the translator. "So much emotion invested in temporary things. It will be educational to study how you react to loss." Dr. Webb looked puzzled. "I'm sorry, could you clarify what you mean by that?" The Vorthak leader's shimmer changed, becoming somehow darker. "We have been studying your species for some time. Your radio signals, your military capabilities, your population centers. You are remarkably predictable for a species that believes itself intelligent." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Sarah's hand moved to her weapon, but the Vorthak leader raised one elongated arm, and suddenly every human in the room found themselves paralyzed, unable to move or speak. "Do not be alarmed," the alien continued, its voice now carrying an undertone of cruel amusement. "Your deaths will serve a greater purpose. The Vorthak Empire requires this system's resources, and your species is simply in the way. We have found it more efficient to eliminate resistance before beginning colonization." Through the viewport, Sarah saw Luna Station's defensive turret suddenly turning inward, targeting the station itself. The Vorthak had somehow taken control of their own defenses. As alarms began to wail throughout the facility, the alien delegation simply walked back to their ship, leaving the paralyzed humans behind. The attack began 30 minutes later. Orbital strikes hit every major city on Earth simultaneously. Beijing vanished in a pillar of fire. London was reduced to a crater. New York, Tokyo, Moscow, all gone in the first wave. The strikes were precise, devastating, and merciless. Over 2 billion people died in the first hour, but humanity had one advantage the Vorthak hadn't counted on. Admiral Morrison had positioned stealth satellites throughout the solar system, armed with EMF pulse weapons designed for disabling enemy electronics. As the orbital bombardment continued, Morrison activated every one of them. The electromagnetic pulse didn't destroy the Vorthak ships, but it disrupted their coordination. Several vessels crashed into Earth's atmosphere, while others fled to the outer system to regroup. For the first time since the attack began, humanity had a moment to breathe. In the ruins of former Washington, D.C., Dr. Marcus Webb crawled from the wreckage of the evacuation bunker, where he'd been taken after Luna Station's destruction. His left arm was broken, his lab coat torn and bloody, but his mind was already working on the problem of human survival. "We need their technology," he muttered to himself, looking up at the burning sky. "If we're going to survive this, we need to become them." 3 miles away, Captain Elena Rodriguez was organizing survivors in the metro tunnels. The former Army Ranger had been in the Pentagon when the first strike hit. She'd lost her entire unit, but her training had kicked in. Now she was doing what soldiers do best, adapting to impossible situations. "Listen up," she told the group of 50 civilians and military personnel who'd found their way to her makeshift command post. "The surface is death. The aliens have orbital supremacy, and they're systematically destroying everything that moves up there. But they made one mistake: they left us alive." An Air Force colonel, his uniform singed and his face streaked with soot, spoke up. "Ma'am, with respect, what can we possibly do against technology like that? They took out our entire military in less than an hour." Elena's smile was sharp as broken glass. "We do what humans have always done when faced with superior force. We adapt, we improvise, and we make them pay for every inch. Those ships that crashed, they're gifts. We're going to tear them apart, learn how they work, and then we're going to use that knowledge to kill every last one of these bastards." The war for Earth's survival had begun, but it wouldn't be fought by grand fleets or mighty armies. It would be won in bombed-out ruins and underground tunnels, by scientists and soldiers working together to turn humanity's greatest weakness, their technological inferiority, into their greatest strength. Dr. Webb established his first laboratory in an abandoned subway station, using salvaged equipment to analyze fragments of Vorthak technology. What he found was both encouraging and terrifying. The aliens' devices were incredibly advanced, but they relied heavily on quantum communication networks. Disrupt those networks and their coordination would collapse. Meanwhile, Captain Rodriguez was learning the art of asymmetric warfare against an alien occupier. Her teams struck Vorthak patrols with improvised explosives, then vanished into the ruins before retaliation could arrive. Each attack yielded more alien technology, which Webb's teams reverse-engineered with desperate efficiency. The breakthrough came 6 months after the initial invasion. Webb had figured out how to create directed EMF weapons using standard human electronics and salvaged Vorthak components. The first field test took place in the ruins of Manhattan, where a Vorthak command post had been established in what used to be Central Park. Rodriguez led the assault personally, her team armed with the new EMF weapons disguised as simple human equipment. They approached the alien position at dawn, moving through rubble that had once been apartment buildings and office towers. The Vorthak were elegant even in war. Their soldiers moved with the same fluid grace as their diplomats, their weapons humming with deadly energy. But when Rodriguez gave the signal and her team activated their EMF devices, something beautiful happened. The aliens stumbled. Their coordination vanished. Their weapons stopped firing in perfect unison. For the first time since the invasion began, the Vorthak looked confused, almost vulnerable. "Now!" Rodriguez screamed, and her team opened fire with conventional weapons. The aliens, deprived of their technological advantages, fell like any other enemy would fall. When the smoke cleared, the command post was in human hands, and with it came a treasure trove of alien intelligence. But the greatest prize was yet to come. Among the captured data was a complete star chart showing the location of the Vorthak home system. Webb stared at the information with growing excitement and horror. "Elena, look at this," he called Rodriguez over to his makeshift computer terminal. "This isn't just their home system. This shows their entire empire. Dozens of star systems, hundreds of worlds. And Elena, we're not the first species they've done this to." The data showed a pattern of expansion that stretched back centuries. The Vorthak had encountered 67 different intelligent species. All had been eliminated with the same methodical efficiency now being applied to humanity. The aliens didn't just conquer, they exterminated. "How many are left?" Rodriguez asked quietly. Webb's face was grim. "According to this, we're the only ones still fighting. Every other species was eliminated within 2 years of first contact." That night, in the ruins of humanity's former capital, a decision was made that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. The surviving human leadership, scattered across 100 hidden bunkers, came to a unanimous conclusion transmitted through secured channels. The Vorthak Empire had made one fatal mistake. They had attacked humanity first, believing them to be just another primitive species to be brushed aside. They had shown no mercy, offered no quarter, and made it clear that coexistence was impossible. Very well. Humanity would show them what it meant to fight a species with nothing left to lose. Admiral Morrison, speaking from a hidden command post beneath the Rocky Mountains, transmitted the final message to all surviving human forces. "The enemy has shown us their true nature. They are not conquerors seeking dominance, they are exterminators seeking to erase us from existence. Therefore, our response must be equally absolute. We will not seek to defeat the Vorthak Empire. We will seek to ensure it never rises again." The plan was ambitious beyond anything humanity had ever attempted. Using reverse-engineered Vorthaks, technology combined with human engineering, they would build a fleet capable of reaching the aliens' home system. But this would not be a mission of conquest or liberation. This would be a mission of extinction. As the remnants of humanity worked in secret across their devastated world, building weapons from alien technology and human determination, the Vorthak continued their systematic destruction of Earth's surface. They believed they were dealing with a primitive species in its death throes. They had no idea they were creating something far more dangerous than they could imagine, a species with nothing left to lose and the intelligence to learn from its enemies. The hunters were about to become the hunted, and the galaxy was about to learn why humanity had survived when all others had fallen. The fleet would launch in 18 months. The Vorthak Empire's long history of genocide was about to come to an end one way or another. The price of survival, 18 months after the first Vorthak ship had docked at Luna Station, Admiral James Harrison stood in the command center of humanity's greatest achievement and darkest purpose. The UNS Retribution was unlike any vessel ever built by human hands. Part human engineering, part reverse-engineered alien technology, and part desperate innovation born from the edge of extinction. Around him, the bridge hummed with quiet efficiency. His crew of 300 represented the best of what remained of humanity. Scientists who had learned to be soldiers, soldiers who had learned to be engineers, and civilians who had learned that survival sometimes required becoming monsters. "Admiral, the fleet is assembled and ready for quantum jump," reported Commander Lisa Park, formerly a NASA engineer, now his chief navigation officer. Through the main viewport, Harrison could see the other vessels of their armada. 57 ships in total, each one a hybrid of human determination and alien technology. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, and it would have to be enough. Dr. Marcus Webb, now bearing the scars of 2 years underground and the weight of humanity's future, approached the command chair. His once soft academic features had hardened into something resembling weathered steel. "Admiral, the final calculations are complete. The quantum drive is functioning within acceptable parameters. We should reach the Vorthak home system in 43 days. Harrison nodded, then activated the fleet-wide communication system. Throughout the 57 ships, survivors of Earth's destruction turned their attention to their commander's words. "People of Earth," Harrison began, his voice carrying across the void to reach every human ear in the fleet. 22 months ago, we were a species reaching for the stars with hope and wonder. The Vorthak Empire changed that. They came to our world speaking of peace while planning genocide. They murdered our families, destroyed our cities, and sought to erase us from existence. He paused, looking at the faces around his bridge. Each person there had lost everything: families, homes, futures. All that remained was purpose. We go now to their home system, not as explorers or diplomats, but as the consequences of their actions. They showed us what they truly were when they thought we were helpless. Now we will show them what we have become. The galaxy will learn that humanity remembers, and that some actions cannot be forgiven or forgotten. The quantum jump that followed was unlike anything in human experience. Space folded around the fleet, reality bending in ways that human physics had only theorized about. When they emerged, they were 43 light-years from Earth, in a system that had never seen human ships before. The Vorthak home system was a testament to their empire's power. 7 inhabited worlds orbited a binary star system, connected by vast orbital structures and defense platforms. Automated sensor networks detected the human fleet within minutes of their arrival. "Admiral, we're being scanned," reported Lieutenant Commander Torres, now serving as tactical officer. "Multiple contacts approaching from the inner system. Looks like, dear God, sir, we're looking at over 3,000 vessels." Harrison studied the tactical display. The Vorthak response was overwhelming. Battleships the size of cities, carrier vessels that could house entire fleets, and defensive platforms that could level continents. Humanity's 57 ships were outnumbered 60-1 by forces that outgunned them in every measurable way. "Sir," Commander Park spoke quietly, "at these odds, conventional tactics won't work. They'll destroy us before we can get within weapons range of their homeworld." "Then we don't use conventional tactics," Harrison replied, his voice carrying a calmness that surprised even him. "Dr. Webb, is the Prometheus protocol ready for implementation?" Webb's face went pale. The Prometheus protocol was humanity's most desperate gambit, a plan that had been conceived in the darkest hours of the resistance and refined during their 18 months of preparation. It was brilliant, necessary, and utterly ruthless. "Yes. Admiral, all ships are equipped with the necessary modifications, but sir, once we begin, there's no going back, for any of us." Harrison looked around his bridge one last time. These people had become his family, his purpose, his responsibility. They had all chosen to be here, knowing what it would cost. "Then let's finish what they started." The first wave of Vorthak ships approached in perfect formation, their weapons charging with lethal efficiency. They moved with the same elegant grace that had once fooled humanity into believing they came in peace. But this time, humans were ready for them. The UNS Retribution and 12 other vessels broke formation, accelerating directly toward the approaching Vorthak fleet. To alien sensors, it must have looked like a desperate charge by an inferior force. They had no way to know that each human ship had been converted into something far more dangerous than a conventional warship. Prometheus protocol is active, Dr. Webb announced from his station. All ships report ready for implementation. Harrison watched the tactical display as the gap between the two forces closed. 3 minutes to contact. 2 minutes. 1 minute. Execute. Prometheus, Harrison ordered. Across 13 human vessels, the crews initiated a sequence that would have been unthinkable before the Vorthak invasion. Each ship's quantum reactor was deliberately destabilized, creating a cascade reaction that would tear a hole in space-time itself. But instead of random destruction, the energy was focused and directed through hybrid human Vorthak technology into a weapon that turned each vessel into a guided singularity bomb. The results were spectacular and terrible. 13 human ships vanished in expanding spheres of twisted space-time, taking with them over 400 Vorthak vessels and creating gravitational distortions that shattered the aliens' perfect formations. But the victory came at a price that would have broken the old humanity. 4,000 humans had just died in an instant, turning themselves into weapons to clear a path for their species' survival. First wave is clear, Commander Park reported, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. 44 ships remaining. The path to Vorthak Prime is open. The remaining human fleet accelerated through the chaos they had created, dodging debris and gravitational anomalies while the Vorthak defenders struggled to regroup. But Admiral Harrison knew they had only bought themselves time, not victory. The aliens were already adapting, spreading their formations to minimize the impact of any future Prometheus strikes. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from the Vorthak homeworld, reported Torres. They're trying to surrender. Harrison's expression didn't change. What exactly are they saying? They're offering to withdraw from Earth, pay reparations, establish a peace treaty. They're calling for a cessation of hostilities and formal negotiations. Dr. Webb looked up from his station, his scarred face showing the faintest trace of the man he used to be. Admiral, this is what we wanted, isn't it? They're offering to end the war. Harrison was quiet for a long moment, studying the tactical display. Around him, his bridge crew waited for his decision. They could accept the Vorthak surrender, return to Earth as heroes, and rebuild their civilization in peace. Doctor, Harrison said finally, show me the data from their empire again. All the species they've encountered over the centuries. Webb brought up the star charts and historical records they had captured. 67 intelligent species, all extinct, all destroyed by the same Vorthak empire that now offered peace to humanity. They offered to negotiate with the Kelari, Harrison noted, pointing to one entry. Signed a formal peace treaty. 2 years later, the Kelari were extinct. Same pattern, with the Threx Confederation, the Spiral Alliance, the Jovian Collective. Every single species that tried to coexist with the Vorthak Empire ended up eradicated. He turned to face his crew. They're not offering peace. They're buying time to regroup and finish what they started. The only difference is that this time, we have the opportunity to ensure they never get that chance. Commander Park spoke quietly. Sir, what you're suggesting, it would make us no better than them. No, Harrison replied, his voice carrying the weight of 2 billion dead humans. It would make us survivors. And sometimes that's all the morality a species can afford. The final assault on Vorthak Prime began at dawn, local time. 31 human ships descended through the planet's atmosphere while the remaining 13 engaged the orbital defenses. The surface of the Vorthak homeworld was a garden of crystal spires and flowing architecture, beautiful beyond human imagination. It was also home to over 8 billion Vorthak civilians. Captain Elena Rodriguez, now commanding the ground assault force, led her teams through the alien cities with the same methodical efficiency she had learned in Earth's ruins. The weapon they carried, was Dr. Webb's final creation, a biological agent specifically designed to target Vorthak DNA while leaving other species unharmed. Remember, Rodriguez transmitted to her teams as they deployed the weapon through the planet's atmosphere distribution networks. They chose this outcome when they decided to exterminate every other species in the galaxy. We're not committing genocide. We're preventing future genocides. The end came quietly. The Vorthak Empire, which had spread across dozens of star systems and eliminated 67 intelligent species, simply stopped. The biological weapon was perfectly efficient, targeting only their specific genetic markers and causing cascading organ failure within hours. By the time the human fleet departed Vorthak space, an entire species was extinct. Their ships drifted empty through the void, their worlds fell silent, and their empire crumbled into dust. But humanity's work wasn't finished. Using captured Vorthak star charts, they tracked down every remaining Vorthak colony, every outpost, every research station. The hunt took 3 years and cost another 8,000 human lives, but when it ended, not a single member of the species that had destroyed Earth remained alive. The galaxy learned quickly what had happened. Other alien civilizations, many of whom had lived in fear of Vorthak expansion for generations, suddenly found themselves facing a new power, one that had accomplished what they had thought impossible. Admiral Harrison, now bearing the title of humanity's first speaker, established the Terran hegemony with its capital on New Geneva, a space station built in Earth's orbit. The planet itself remained mostly uninhabited, kept as a memorial to what had been lost and a reminder of what humanity had become. The first alien delegation to approach the new human government came from the Altarian Republic, a peaceful species that had managed to avoid Vorthak attention for centuries. Their ambassador, a graceful being with butterfly-like wings, spoke carefully chosen words. "We come to congratulate humanity on their victory and to discuss potential trade relationships and cultural exchanges." First speaker. Harrison received them in a chamber overlooking Earth's scarred surface. His response was simple and absolute. "The Terran hegemony has one policy regarding alien contact. Leave us in peace, respect our territorial boundaries, and we will do the same for you. Attempt to threaten, attack, or deceive us as the Vorthak did, and you will share their fate. We have no interest in conquest or empire, but we will never again allow our species to be threatened with extermination." The ambassador's wings fluttered nervously. "And if we comply with these terms, then you will live to see your grandchildren grow old," Harrison replied. "Cross us and your species will be remembered only as a cautionary tale." Word spread quickly through the galactic community. Humanity had not just defeated the Vorthak Empire, they had erased it so completely that some wondered if the aliens had ever existed at all. The message was clear. Approach the humans with respect and live in peace, or approach them with hostility and vanish from history. Dr. Marcus Webb, now serving as the hegemony's chief of science, often stood in his laboratory aboard New Geneva, looking out at the stars with mixed emotions. In his hands he held the same tablet he had used to translate the first Vorthak message all those years ago. Sometimes he wondered what might have happened if those first aliens had truly come in peace. But then he would remember Luna Station, remember the 2 billion dead in the first hour, remember the 67 species that had trusted the Vorthak and paid with their existence. Humanity had faced a choice between mercy and survival, and they had chosen to survive. The galaxy was quieter now. Alien civilizations went about their business with careful awareness of the borders marked "Human Space, Do Not Enter." Trade occurred through automated systems at designated neutral zones. Cultural exchange happened through carefully monitored digital communications. And in the silence between the stars, humanity rebuilt their civilization with the hard-earned knowledge that in a galaxy full of predators, the only sure protection was to become the apex predator themselves. The Vorthak Empire had struck first, believing humans to be just another primitive species to be swept aside. They had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their numbers. It was their ability to become whatever they needed to become in order to survive. And in becoming humanity's executioners, the Vorthak had created something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. A species that remembered every slight, forgave nothing, and would cross the galaxy itself to ensure that a threat to human survival could never rise again. The stars belonged to many species now, but they all remembered the lesson of Vorthak Prime. Some lines should not be crossed, some species should not be threatened, and some mistakes could never be undone. Humanity had paid the price for survival, and they had made certain the galaxy would never forget the cost of testing their resolve.